I wish I was a cabin boy aboard a man of war. Sam's got away aboard a man of war. Pretty work, brave boys, pretty work, I say. Sam's got away aboard a man of war.
Hi, and welcome back to Privateer Timeline of the Revolutionary War. I'm Samuel Siegel, Executive Director of the Schooner Pursuit Historical Society. This time, we're going to be covering from June 1776 through January of 1778. So, let's get started. June 15, 1776, the HMS Richmond is captured as a prize vessel by the privateer schooner Congress. June 29th, 1776, the Battle of Turtle Gut Inlet, the first privateer battle of the Revolutionary War, in which the brigantine Nancy, on her way back from the West Indies, specifically St. Croix and St. Thomas, en route to Philadelphia, carrying 386 barrels of gunpowder, 50 firelocks, 101 hogshead of rum, and 62 hogshead of sugar, basically supplies for the troops. Unfortunately, there was a blockade in the Delaware Bay by the British. They had over 240 cannons trained on any vessel that dared breach that blockade. So, as the Nancy got close, she sent word through flag communication, which was common at the time, to Captain John Barry of the Lexington that they were going to need assistance. So they proceeded. In the early hours of June 29th, pursued by the British and blocked from entering the Delaware, the Nancy entered Turtle Gut Inlet under a heavy fog. She basically, at that point, ran aground. The British were coming. They were firing at her, but they were out of reach. They ended up having to send longboats because they were too heavy in the water and too deep and could not go. The Lexington and the other Continental forces that were there had sent their tenders or their longboats in order to try and offload all of this cargo, while the British were trying to get to the Nancy and basically capture her and her goods. One vessel was responsible for the rescue of the cargo. Another vessel was responsible for shelling at the British to keep them away, while the men unloaded the Nancy and then hid the goods in the sandbar. Well, they actually managed to get a good chunk of the gunpowder off. They left about 150 barrels of gunpowder in the hold of the Nancy, and as they were withdrawing, the last person off removed the colors, which was a sign to the British that they were indeed surrendering when it was just them leaving. As soon as they left, they lit a sail that was shrouded with gunpowder and basically is a very long fuse into the hold, and it exploded about the moment that some British troops had gotten on board. Meanwhile, the Continentals were nowhere to be found. Many British troops perished due to this ruse. October 28th, 1776. On this unfortunate day, Washington had no choice but to withdraw his troops from New York. Early January in 1777, the Bill on Privateering was introduced into the British House of Commons. On February 6, 1777, the Bill on Privateering passes from the House of Commons and is now introduced to the British House of Lords. On March 11, 1777, the London Public Advertiser publishes an appendix to the Prohibitory Act, thus announcing privateering applications are now being accepted by the House of Lords. March 15, 1777, the British House of Lords starts receiving applications for privateers. March 27, 1777, Parliament passes the Bill on Privateering, and King George issues a proclamation on his instructions to privateers. In May of 1777, privateers start appearing in the West Indies. In September of 1777, the Prize Act is authorized, allowing British privateer prizes to be sold in British-controlled ports in the colonies. September 16th of 1777, the British Court of Admiralty opens in New York City. September 26th, 1777, the siege of Fort Mifflin begins. Philadelphia falls to the British at this time. November 5th, 1777, the salt works in Shrewsbury, New Jersey, were destroyed by British marauders. November 15th, 1777, after a long battle, Fort Mifflin is surrendered to the British, but not before Continental forces burn it to the ground. January 10th, 1778, Parliament gives the West Indies permission to issue letters of marque and reprisal. Last time I told you a little bit about the letter of marque and the letter of instructions that had to accompany it. Very little is really known exactly what tactics people ended up using to recruit privateers. Most of what we know is from, of course, books, stories, and word of mouth, which is at a tavern setting. A captain would sit at a table or one of the recruitment officers, and they would sign people up the same as they would into the army. Another way that they would do it was they would post advertisements in newspapers asking people to join, or have little slips of paper sitting around at tables. Now fitting for a privateer in the harbor of Philadelphia. A strong, good vessel for that purpose, and a prime sailor, any seamen and landmen, or persons that have an inclination to make their fortunes in a few months, may have the opportunity by applying to, and then the name of the captain and the vessel would be included in that. Well, that's it for this time. Next time, we will go over the happenings between April of 1778 and April of 1779. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.
I wish I was a cabin boy aboard a man of war. Sam's gone away aboard a man of war. Pretty work, brave boys, pretty work, I say. Sam's gone away aboard a man of war. I wish I was a gunner aboard a man of war. Sam's gone away aboard a man of war. Pretty work, brave boys, pretty work, I say. Sam's gone away aboard a man of war.